So when starting this displacement extraction process, there's a few setup things to keep in mind. So first of all, of course, we need a high-res version of the model. And a lot of times this kind of workflow is used with scan maquettes that end up giving you this dense point cloud in 3D that needs to be reduced. So if we look at this example here, we've got some fine detail with some kind of wrinkles along the top, as well as some kind of overall distortions on the surface. And it's important to realize what this displacement extraction process can do. Say, for example, you can't create an arm with displacement. That kind of thing is best left to modeling. But overall kind of surface details like muscles, wrinkles, even large structural things like lips, some of the detail there, that can be created by displacement. And especially with the new mental ray displacement, it's actually quite accurate. So you can get away with quite a bit. But it's a good idea, again, to just try it out and experiment and see how far you can push the tools. So once you have your high-res version, the next thing is to create a low-res version of that model. Now, a lot of times when people are using scan data, they'll prefer to just model a low-res version from scratch, using the high-res model as a reference for snapping points too. And that way they control the vertex position exactly, and so that kind of eases things during the animation pipeline stage of things. Another option would be to use the poly reduction tools on the high-res and just reduce the number of vertices. For example, just to keep things simple, I'm just going to get a simple sphere, and we're going to use that as our low-res version. So even though it's our low-res version, you want to make sure there's enough vertices there that when we apply the displacement map, it can accurately create the displaced look. So that requires a certain minimal amount of vertices. So it's important to make sure that's in the setup. The next thing is we want to position them in the same physical space in 3D. And basically what we're doing over this process is when we render map, what we're going to be doing is applying the render map property to the low-res version. So what that means is the camera travels perpendicularly on the surface of the low-res version. But we're going to hide the low-res version and actually render out the scalar state parameter that's been converted into an RGB setting, so an RGB kind of grayscale level. So what that means is as the camera goes around the object, it's going to be recording, say in this difference here, from the low-res to the high-res, recording that delta. As we go out here and the high-res model pushes out from the low-res, we're going to record that as, say, like a positive amplitude. This here would be negative amplitude, and so on. It'll go across the entire surface, recording these differences between the low-res and the high-res. And when that gets normalized and converted to a grayscale image, we basically have our displacement map that we can apply to the low-res and regain all the detail. So that's the overall kind of workflow, and that's why it's important that the two sit in the same space physically, because obviously any offset or shift in rotation or anything like that will create distortion in the displacement map, and that'll give you inaccurate results. So once we have that set up, we're basically ready to apply a render map property.